What's up, guys? So I'm gonna go over a bunch of different ways you could pass your evals. Stay to the end because I am going over a bunch of different ones. It's just not going to be one strategy the whole time. The first strategy to passing evals is to save you money. Every single one of these prop firms have coupon codes and deals. I have two listed in the description. So you can click on those if you want to save money. One's 80% off. I think one's 50% off. You got to find the firm that fits your trading strategy. I've used basically right now is Top Step and Apex. So right now I'm going to go into actual trading strategies. I find my number one trading strategy to try to pass evals. By the way, evals and funded accounts are traded differently for me. I will go in heavier in an eval because it's not that big of a deal versus a funded account where I'm more I'll take the same plays. I'm just taking it with less contracts. So one of my top strategies is actually I play the Orb 15 bounce mostly. I know a lot of people play the breakouts, but I actually play the retests a lot. So I know I'm showing you the Qs. It's just a derivative of the NQ. They move the same, but the NQ starts trading at 6 o'clock. So there's not, there's no orb for that. I guess I can create the orb starting from 9:30 on. I got to find a script. But I just flip over to the Qs, and here's just an example. This is Friday, 5-minute chart. So this was the bottom, and the green was the top, and you could see we retested, and was at 86. I mean, that is way more than 10 points on the NQ. If I go back and just show you how many points that is. It's this wick. So that's at 175. I mean, you could have got 70 points, 75 points off that bounce, which is more than enough to fund an account. I don't just go all in. I trade 50K accounts. So I'll do 5 contracts, and I'm looking to sell 3 of my 5 contracts at a 10-point gain, and then I'll move those 2 to a stop loss of 5, and then I'll just let it run up like a trailing stop. I'll just keep moving my 2 contracts up. In this case right here, I would have been funded. I would have gotten over $3,000 because I would have just kept moving my 2 contracts up, and I would have got paid because 3 contracts, 10 points is $600, and then the two contracts would have ran in this scenario probably like 40 points. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten funded. 40 points is 400. I would have been slightly under getting funded. But what was good was, if you look, it came back down, retested the 15-minute. Now this is a home run, by the way. This white line is VWAP. So when VWAP and the orb were right there, I mean, I would have gone in with my funded account without a doubt, and also the evals, and I would have been easily funded, plus made a ton of money on my paid accounts. So I just play these orb bounces, and then obviously for the rest of the day there was no orb trade. It's not every single day has the retest. You also get orb rejections. So the day before on Thursday, this was the orb right here, and you could see that we just triple topped on the top of the orb. It's just right there. I mean, you could have played it and got a massive move down. So to the short side, I play less contracts. I just it's also a feel of how the day is going. I would say, was there news, was news out, was Fed speakers talking. There's a lot of different factors. This isn't just a cut and dry, hey, you always do this. I kind of get the feel of the market to see what I'm going to do. I felt like we were going to roll over on Thursday, so I did play this. I did not play this whole thing, but I definitely played it. I want to say I got something like 20 points off of it. To stay in trades, I used this pink line, which is the 8. And, as long as 5 minute doesn't close above the 8, I typically stay in. But we were approaching the bottom orb and VWAP. So I took profit. I mean, it was a hell of a trade, and I can't say. I've traded it down here on some of these on the 1 minute chart. They had some bear flag breaks, but I'm talking about the orb strategy. Sometimes you don't get the retest. Like right here, we blew right past it. I believe that was news at 10 o'clock though. So that's when it kind of messes up if there's news and things like that. But it's definitely so here's a great example of sometimes you got to look to see what's around you. So this is a pivot point right here, this yellow line. So if we're super close here, instead of just buying 5 for a bounce, if I think it's going to bounce, I might only buy 2, and then at the pivot point add another 2. And I actually played that exactly like that on Wednesday. These pivot points is another great strategy that I use. Just as you're looking around, these are standard. It's just pivots. You just go into your indicators, and it's just standard pivot points. These EMAs are different. I have settings. So here's my settings, just so you can look at that as well. I changed it in the Pine editor. So I have the 8, 34, 200, and 377. And then this white line is VWAP. But these pivot points are great for outsized moves where you might find support. When we gap down pretty large, we were already under the second pivot point. So the next logical area would be the third one, and that's exactly where we found support. So it works both ways. I'll use these pivot points to look for a bounce, or look for shorts, or look to cover. Here it is again. I mean, you could just see it. It happens all the time. These pivot points are support. Right here again. Like I said, it's not gospel. Like, you don't just buy, but when there's an outsized move, these are spots that I look for a rejection, some type of trend change. You definitely have to look at things. Are we trending up? Are we above the 8 moving average? Maybe we don't reject at the first pivot point because it's super strong. Maybe there was news in the morning and things are looking great, or things are looking really bad, and we're just going to blow through pivot points like we did here. I mean, certain times you just don't get in front of it. And, we blew right through this pivot point, this pivot point, this pivot point, this pivot point. Sometimes you just got to acknowledge that there's too much momentum, and you just got to say, hey, listen, this isn't for my trading plan, and I'm just going to sit here and watch it. And that's it. Sometimes, this isn't a hit the button all day type of game. This is a sit and wait for your moments. But you could see pivot point, pivot point, pivot point. Like, these are great trades that could be made. Or bottom, or bottom, or bottom. These are all, you could take this up, take this back up, take this back up. And this yellow line is the 200. So I would be selling at the 200. These are 3 great trades. And even on the back, on the other side, orb top, orb top, orb top, orb top. The only one I would have lost on, and I actually did trade this one, was so we had the breakout of the orb. We retested the orb. I took that for a gain, but then again, I played another bounce and we sold through, and I took a loss. This isn't every single time, but you could just see right around these pivot points, right around the orbs, things happen. It's support, it's resistance. And the last thing I use is pretty much VWAP. It's this white line. It's not, like I said, nothing's gospel here. It's just another spot that, if you get an outsized move, I would look for that to be a spot of support or resistance. And, you got to acknowledge what's going on at that given time to see what you're going to do. There is no, this is exactly what you're going to do every single time. I would say the only time it's more like I kind of just take it for what it's worth is the orbs. But outside of that, I don't really, I see what's going on. Obviously, the 200 on the 5 or the 1, I definitely look out for, because you can get some good bounces off of that. I mean, here's an example. But if you're going up and it's strong, like it's strong right here, we had the news, I'm probably not taking this short on the 200, even though it did reject and you would have made a little bit of money. It's strong on the news. It's probably going to blow right through it. So you sit it out. And that's what I'm talking about. You have to know what's going on in the environment you're trading in. It can't just be, this is every time. But you can see it just bounces off the 200. And then once it goes under, it becomes resistance. There, a bunch of 200 bounces. It's definitely something that's on my radar. But to keep things simple, I would put VWAP, the 200, the orbs, and that's how I get funded and make trades. This isn't you're making 1,000 trades a day. I'm looking for, I don't know, maybe 3 to 7 good trades a day. I take feeler trades sometimes where I just buy 5 minis or 1 contract, but I'm talking real trades where I go 3 or 5 full contracts in, and I'm looking for a good size move off of it. So I hope some of these concepts or strategies will help you get funded. It's helped me get funded, and it's helped me make a decent amount of money through time.